Hello everybody, Adrienne here, and today I'm coming to you with the Get Ready With Me / second impression of the Tammi X Revolution palette. This is the Tropical Paradise palette. Tammi Clarke is one of my favorite YouTubers, and I've been watching her now for a couple of years, so I was so excited when she got this collab with Makeup Revolution. I know she does have a eyelash line called Lovable Lashes, and she's also had a couple other palettes that she released through her own brand on her own, but I was excited to see her get a collab deal with Makeup Revolution, and this is what the packaging to the palette looks like. Sorry to blind you. It's a pretty rose gold. It's a mirrored palette. It does fingerprint easily, but it is really pretty, and the inside of the palette has this huge mirror down here, and these are the colors. The colors in this palette are beautiful and really good for darker complexions and skin tones. I like this palette a lot for that, and it comes with the name sheet here that I've sat down to the side. But this palette has 23 colors. Each row has 10 in a row, and there's 3 here. I'm going to put some swatches up for you guys to see what this palette looks like on my skin tone. I'm so excited that Makeup Revolution is deciding to collab with so many YouTubers and give them a chance to have their own palettes and different products out. So this has just been a wonderful year for collabs with Makeup Revolution, but this was one of my most exciting collabs. Like I said, Tammi is one of my favorite YouTubers, but I don't want to keep going on and on. I want to show you guys what this palette is like to work with and how I got this look today. So I will be back. To get started with this look, I've already primed my eyelids and done my eyebrows. I primed my lids with MAC Paint Pot in the color Laying Low. And the first shade that I'm going to go in with, I'm not even going to attempt to read the names off of the sheet, is this color here. I'm going to put a little bit of it down as a base shade to set that eye primer. And this is coming out a lot deeper than what I wanted it to. That's why I'm keeping it concentrated in the middle. I can use it more of a transition shade, so I'm going to focus this shade here just in the middle and do some swirling motions in the inner corner right in here where I get sometimes a little bit of streak where the shadow clings to the primer, where my skin's a little crepey. And I'll take a little more and do this eyelid over here. And if you see it grabbing in some patchy spots over here, it's not the shadow. I need to exfoliate around the eye area. When I was putting the primer on this eyelid, the primer was just a little streaky. And sorry I can't look at you the whole time I'm doing this, but I will be looking down into the mirror quite a bit as I'm applying this. And it looks like now that I have just a little bit of this color on the brush, maybe I can just kind of lightly diffuse it up by the brow bone and set that eye primer because it is quite sticky. So that is going to do it for that first shade. I don't want to build on it too much and not be able to do the look that I wanted to do. And for the second color, I was planning on taking this shade here, but I think I'm going to go in with this one here to put in the crease. So I'm going to use this brush here, and I don't know what you call it. It's from Just Up. And this looks like a pretty intense color, so, oh yeah, that's very pigmented. Just trying to keep from going too high with this color. I don't want to lose the first color that I put down totally, so I am focusing the brush right in here. Get some for the other side. And sorry, I'm sniffling every time I do my eyeshadow. My nose starts to run like crazy from messing with my eyes, so I probably will be sniffling the entire time. So far this palette, everything's going on really well and is quite pigmented and blending really nicely. Even with the patchiness that I had, I only see a slight bit here in the inner corner, and I'm going to turn this brush this way and see if I can't get that filled in, but it's not definitely not the problem of the shadow. It was the primer before, and I've lost that first shade that I put down, so I'm going to grab a little bit more of it and go back in towards the top, and maybe I will stick to my original plan because I wanted to use a little bit of this shade here. Let me find a good blending brush for that, and I'll take a little and add it right in here just to put a little orange in there. Wow, that shade's really pigmented too. Do you see that? I need to blend it out a little bit more, but that is really pigmented. This is going on quickly, and I like that. It doesn't look like I'm going to have to build and build to get the color payoff that I want. I think this eye looks a little darker than this one, so I'm going to add a little bit more of this shade here and come down closer to the inner corner of the eye. And I think for now that's all I'm going to build up with that color. I was also looking at this one here. I kind of wanted to do a little bit of this color, so I will grab a clean brush and go in and add a little bit of this color. And it's really pretty. Just using a blending brush, elf blending brush, to get that in the crease. Come up a little bit. I'm not sure if I want to put it on the outer V yet. Okay guys, I'm gonna have to set this palette down. My nose is running so bad. I'll be right back. Okay, and I am back, so I'm gonna add a little bit of that same shade to the other eye in the crease. Gosh, I can't believe how quick this is going on. Deepen that up just a little bit. Make sure each side is even. Getting a little messy over here. Don't worry, I will clean it up when I do my concealer and foundation. This palette is just really putting out a good look, and it's not taking a lot of effort. Oh, the color that I want to go with is going to be this one here on the lid for my main pop of color. Kind of wanted a sunset type eye look is what I'm going for. Wow, that's really pigmented. I wanted to see what it would do without wetting the brush, and I'm thinking it's going on really nicely without having the brush wet. I'm going to stop because I'm not quite sure what I want to put in this outer corner. Grab a little bit more of that and put it over here, and it's nice because it's patting on and I'm not having to rub very much. It does help if I go in a downward motion though to get the shadow to apply more pigmented. I don't know if you guys can see the difference when I do that. But this is going on really nicely. Okay, so for the outer corner here, this part, I think I'm going to go in with this shade here. And I'm just going to use the other side of that Mary Kay eyeshadow brush that I have. And just dab this corner on here. This is turning out to be really pretty. I'm liking that I'm not having any fallout also working with this palette. That always makes it nice. I don't feel like this is one where you would ruin your foundation if you use this while you did it. This down here is because I accidentally rubbed my brush on that skin, and that's why it got there. It's not from fallout. This is building up so quickly. It's really creating a nice look. I think just for curiosity's sake though, I am going to grab some, oh, not that one. I want some e.l.f. setting mist. I'm going to wet the brush and see if I can get some better pigmentation because this shade is not popping quite as much as I would like it to. So I will go back in, make sure I got the right side, and don't pick up the first color with the wet brush and see how this lays down, if it's more intensified. And maybe a little. I think maybe that color just doesn't pop as much on my skin tone. Nope, here it comes. Building it up. Grab a little bit more and make sure both sides of my eyes are even. That really did intensify the color. I think since I did it with that color, I'm going to go back and do it with the first shade that I used. I want this to be really poppin'. So I'm just applying more of that first shade. I'm going to blend these two together so it doesn't look like a straight line, but it just gets a gradient type effect. I want to go up just a smidgen higher with this shade here in the outer corner. For the outer V, I am going to use the black shade in the palette. And I probably got too big of a brush, but we're going to see how this goes. I just don't want to be packing on color forever. One thing I'm really liking the most about this palette is it is getting the look down quickly. I do not like to spend a lot of time getting color packed on and applied. So anytime a palette can bang out a look really fast for me, I am super excited about it, because a lot of the drugstore palettes, you may end up with a really polished look, but you have to work so hard at building colors and blending with a lot of them that it becomes a total turnoff. And I don't feel that way so far working with this palette. Like, everything's building up and going on extremely fast, and the pigmentation's there. Even when I said that my primer on this eye was really patchy, I don't even notice where I had the patchiness. Just going in some small circles to make sure I get this all throughout and diffused, so it doesn't look like a big clump. Now I think what I will do is go back in with this shade here, because I seem to have lost it. Just add a little bit more to both sides. I don't need as much on this side, I feel. I think I need to come in a little bit more with that black color on this eye. And for the inner color highlight, I think I am going to use this color here. I don't know if I'll need to wet my brush or not to get it to really pop. I think I will spray my brush just to get the color a little more intensified. And I will probably lose most of this when I go to put my concealer and corrector on the under eye, but I wanted to pack it on and see if this was the final color that I'd want for the inner corner, and so far I do think it is. Right now I am going to stop and go and finish the rest of my eye look by putting some shading colors down at the bottom in my eyeliner and my lashes on, and I'm going to finish the rest of my face, and I will come back and let you know the shades that I use out of the palette to smudge out the bottom lash line. So I will be right back. As you guys saw, this palette was really easy to work with and very pigmented. I did smudge out my lash line, and to smudge out the lash line, I used this brown color here, and I went in with this black color like close to my waterline because I used black liner on the waterline, and I used this to set it. And I also added some more black outer V color and just deepen that up, and then I put my lashes and mascara on and finished the rest of my face. But I have to say, for a drugstore palette, I was really pleasantly surprised by how fast the look came together. A lot of times with drugstore palettes, like I think I said earlier in the video, you get a nice look, but how hard do you have to work for it? I didn't feel that I had to work super hard for this look. The colors went on really intensely and they build up nicely. I did like spraying the brush better to apply the metallic shades in here. I think they go on much better. I'm very familiar with Makeup Revolution's formulation, and I did know before I even started this look that their metallic shades go on better with the wet brush. But yes, the color, it turned out so intense, and I really do like the look that I created with it. And like I said, it is my second impression of the palette, because a few months ago when I first got the palette, I did get in it and created a look that I loved and I got to wear out in the daytime. I will be recreating that look, and I do plan to be in this palette several times because this is a pretty unique palette for me compared to a lot of the other ones that I have. The color range in it, I wouldn't say we're similar skin tones, but we're not that off skin tone wise. And the reason why I like watching her is typically if something looks great and works well for her, it's going to do well for me. So I knew when she made a palette, I was going to pretty much love the whole thing. And the color scheme, I do really like these colors a lot. The packaging, like I said, is really gorgeous. The only thing I would have to say about the palette that I wish was a little bit different, and this is just a personal preference thing, it has nothing to do with quality, is I don't really care for when the pans are laid out going this way. I like it better when they're squares or just rectangles, but I guess if I held my palette this way, then it would be a rectangle while I was working with it. But the thing that makes it okay is these are not the thin rows. Sometimes when the rows are too thin, it's hard to get your brush in it without dipping your brush accidentally in the next shade, but I definitely did not have that problem with this palette, so that made it okay that it's set up this way. But I do like the palette and do see this as something that I would work with frequently. It can create some nice glam looks, or you can kind of tone it down if you like. And the transition shades that she picked for this palette, like this orange here and these two different pinks and this plum shade here. I mean, she's got some pretty unique transition shades, and let's not forget that blue here and the green. There's so many different things in here that you can get pops of colors from, and it's not just the metallic shades. A lot of times when you see pops of color in the palette, it's only the metallic shade. It's not the transition shades, and it's awesome to have a palette that has good core metallic shades, but colorful transition shades. I'm not used to getting a palette with that type of variety, so I feel like she surprised us and did something a little bit different by putting that many shade ranges, especially of this pinky plum color in here. I really do appreciate that, because those colors, like I said, work well for my skin tone. And of course, you know, if you've watched Tammi for a while, one of her main things about a palette used to be that it always had to have a black. She's gotten to where she's changed her mind a little bit about that, but I'm happy she did put the black in here. And the black is dark, but it's one that if you want it to be super intense, you do need to build it up. But I don't mind that at all, because sometimes a super intense black shadow will make it so I'm afraid to touch it in the daytime when I'm creating a daytime look. And I would feel totally comfortable in using this black creating a daytime look, because to get this intensity that I have now on my eyes, I did have to build it up quite a bit. It didn't just turn up this dark with the first few swipes of the shadow. So overall, I have to say this is a really good palette and I would definitely recommend it. I cannot wait to create more looks with it. I don't think there's anything in this palette that I wouldn't use, so that's a good thing also. And she gave a good variety of the highlight shades here. I like the different variety with them, and I just want to swatch them again. I know I put swatches up, but just to show you, because I know they look pretty light looking at them in the pan, but these are totally different. They look like they could be similar when you look at them next to each other, but they're not at all. And I really like that about this palette. So if you are in the variety for a little tropical type look or just bold colors for a deeper, darker complexion, this is definitely a palette I would recommend. And I just can't say enough good things about it. And congratulations, Tammi, to you if you ever get to see this video. And thank you for creating such a beautiful palette. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. You'll also want to hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button so YouTube notifies you every time I upload a new video. Thank you guys for watching and see you soon.